Welcome all of you to Aurora. I hope you're getting ready for your upcoming examinations. Because of the same reason, I thought I would do a small video on the historical context of the drama, The Crumbs from the Table of Joy by Lynn Nottage. First, I'm going to talk about the Second Red Scare and then communism and also McCarthy, about Joseph McCarthy in this slide. So the drama is set in a period which is now known as the Second Red Scare. This was characterized by the pervasive fear in the United States of communism and certain progressive liberal ideas. The main concern was that the United States had been infiltrated by covert communists who intended to upend American society with socialist practices and ideas. The hysteria is that this thinking spark is known as McCarthyism and is named after Joseph McCarthy. You can see a picture of him here, a senator from Wisconsin who was particularly vocal about the supposed threat of communism. Actually, McCarthy accused many liberal people of nefarious dealings, but his popularity began to decrease in 1950s after it became known that many of his frenzied accusations really didn't have any foundation. You can see in these pictures, people are striking, holding banners, they seem unhappy and frustrated. So many activists striving for equality and racial justice were accused of being communists. And though this was certainly true in some cases, the accusations were actually used as a quick and easy way to discredit certain activists in the eyes of the general public, since many Americans subscribed to the notion that members of the Communist Party were inherently dangerous. Now, this is shown to you by Lynn Nottage when Godfrey Crumbs is looking at Lillian Green as a sort of a threat. And also, now Godfrey shares this viewpoint in the drama, but this is sort of ironical because his beloved peace mission movement was also aligned with the Communist Party in the 1930s. However, Father Divine, who claimed to be God and led the peace mission movement, a religious movement with all the trappings of a cult, you know about it, he renounced the Communist Party during the Second Red Scare. In doing so, he ended up contradicting many values that he had previously put at the center of the peace mission movement, because most of them allied with the communist ideas. And also, I thought I would talk to you about Harlem, because this is where finally not only Lily, but also, Lily was talking about, and also Ernestine goes too. Why is Harlem so special in the drama? Well, you will have to learn a little bit about its historical value. Now, when the Great Migration began, rural African Americans started coming to northern cities to better their circumstances, because they were going through a lot of hardships and abuses in the southern part. So this propelled them to come seeking better jobs, a better future in the northern part, one of economic prosperity and freedom from persecution and Jim Crow laws. These southern migrants joined established African American communities, strengthening church groups and fraternal societies. By 1920, the bulk of the African American population in northern states was concentrated in the cities of Cincinnati, Chicago, Columbus, Detroit, Pittsburgh, Philadelphia, and New York, all industrial centers of production. In New York City, African Americans flocked to the city's Harlem neighborhood, sowing the seeds for what would come to be known as the Harlem Renaissance. It's a cultural, social, and artistic revolution that flourished in the 1920s. So what actually happened during this? Well, during the 1920s and 1930s, Harlem was a sort of a haven, a place of self-discovery, cultural awareness, and a political activism for African Americans. It nourished an artistic flowering of unprecedented richness. It was literature, painting, and music. It was movies, poetry, and jazz. This concentration of talented and socially conscious African Americans produced immensely talented writers like Langston Hughes, Zora Neale Hurston, artists such as Jacob Lawrence and Romeo Bearden, musicians such as Bessie Smith, Duke Ellington, and even activists such as Marcus Garvey and A. Philip Randolph. The apartment blocks and brownstones of Harlem were open to Black residents in 1905. Now, we learn in the drama that the Crumbs family also lived in an apartment block. Between 900s and 1940s, the Black population of the 5 boroughs of Manhattan rose from 60,000 to more than 400,000 people. Black soldiers returning from World War I flocked to Harlem, perhaps initially as a midway point on their way back home. In their travels abroad, they had experienced the freedom offered in European cities and had seen the popularity of American jazz in Paris and London. The excitement of this new life was unimaginable in the small towns of the South, so many remained in New York. This largely transplanted community redefined Black experience in the United States. Now, by the 1920s, Harlem had become the most famous African-American community in the world. The concentration of Black men and women in Harlem produced a lively scene. This can be even seen in some of the paintings. The accumulation of books, journals, and ideas sparked interest in African music, images, and history. The 135th Street Library, depicted in Lawrence's The Library, became the cultural linchpin of Harlem. It was a resource for artists and thinkers, a meeting place, the site of fierce intellectual debates, and a venue for plays and musical performances. In a cosmopolitan community, people expressed their enthusiasm for this new life through jazz, dance, theater, art, and writing. So the Harlem Renaissance coincided with the Roaring Twenties and the Jazz Age. The impact of these movements had a drastic effect on an individual and collective level in both the African-American community as well as America's cultural industries. So the contributions of African Americans greatly benefited the film, music, and theater industries. Some, like the poet Countee Cullen, were Harlem born. Others, like Langston Hughes, migrated. A 19-year-old Langston Hughes, born in Joplin, Missouri, arrived in Harlem in 1921 and vividly recalled his excitement of seeing Harlem for the first time. So this is an extract from his own writing. He said like this: "I can never put on paper the thrill of that underground ride to Harlem. I had never been in a subway before, and it fascinated me. The noise, the speed, the green lights ahead. At every station, I kept watching for the sign 135th Street. When I saw it, I held my breath. I came out onto the platform with 2 heavy bags and looked around. It was still early morning and people were going to work. Hundreds of colored people. I wanted to shake hands with them, speak to them." Hughes would become one of Harlem's most famous residents, a literary giant whose poems chronicle the struggles of joys of early 20th century African Americans. He and other young writers, even Lynn Nottage as a modern writer, would take ownership of the Harlem Renaissance movement, giving a voice to the African American experience. I hope you learned something about the context and the background and some political situations at that time, which would help you analyze the drama better in your examination papers. I'll see you with another video so soon. Until then, bye-bye and good luck with your studies.